What's up, ladies and G-words? Welcome back to my main channel. I'm 26. Can you guys believe it? I feel like so many of you have been watching me since I was 19, wearing a clown wig on the internet, and then fast forward 7 years, I have 1 million subscribers. I'm not in a clown wig anymore. Crazy how time flies. Look at all the flowers in my house, and I had to get rid of like 5 bouquets because there was just so many. And I was thinking about how every birthday I haven't really been that happy. And then I was looking at all the flowers in my apartment and I was like, wow, this is the first time I felt happy and there's just so much love in my life. And I was like, we did it, Joe. We did it, Joe. It gets better, guys. It really does. It gets better. So today's video is about everything I have learned in therapy over the span of like 4 or 5 years. This is also, mind you, coming from someone who has a psychology degree and various certifications in like neuroscience, NLP, etc. So hopefully this information will hit even harder for you. By the way, if you missed my rebirth challenge, we will be hosting it again, but it will instead be in a program format, so you can do it whenever you want. The transformations were insane. In fact, for me, I do my rebirth challenge myself. So it will be out soon, guys. Let's begin. Number 1. This arguably is the most important thing I have learned in therapy, and it is how important regulating your nervous system is. Your nervous system is going to dictate how you behave, and it's also going to dictate how much you can receive and also give out. What that means is, if you had a very, very chaotic childhood, likely you've grown up to have a dysregulated nervous system, meaning you feel unsafe very easily. Because you feel unsafe, that leads to anxiety. It leads to you being either anxious or avoidant or a combination of both, which means you can't have healthy relationships. You pick toxic people. You maybe don't have a lot of capacity in work or life to get things done, to want more. You're not that happy. It literally spans into every single area. And the solution for this is not simply to get more therapy, especially talk therapy. It's actually to do a lot of somatic work. You need to learn how to feel safe in your body. Now, if we're talking about with relationships, you're someone who doesn't feel safe in relationships, you can have the most safe partner and you're going to find every single thing wrong. You're going to push them away. You're going to sabotage. So what you need to do is actually become aware of these triggers by working with a therapist and by doing a lot of that inner work yourself. So next time a trigger comes up, you know what your pattern is, you know the behavior that's going to come after this trigger, aka maybe you're dating somebody new and they're texting you a little bit too much, it's a little bit too overwhelming for your nervous system, so you usually will either crash out or block them or ghost them. So now you know, okay, this doesn't mean that I don't like them. It means I recognize that I feel overwhelmed when someone texts me too much. So I need to go and regulate myself. I need to go and feel safe. I need to feel comfortable. I need to feel less anxious. You go do your somatic practices and you pick a different reaction. That is actually how we heal. And we heal also by regulating with someone else's nervous system, which is why if you're someone who's in toxic relationship after toxic relationship, yes, it's because you either had a very bad first relationship or you had a very terrible childhood, which is leading you to pick these toxic partners because this is what is safe and familiar to you. Anything that isn't familiar is deemed unsafe to our body and our brain. So instead of learning your lessons, you tend to cycle through all these partners. You pick the same partner that's like your ex because it's familiar. You need to learn to break that pattern. And it all comes down to regulating your nervous system, because when you feel safe in your body, that toxic partner is actually going to feel unsafe to you now. They will no longer feel safe because you have created this inner safety that anything that's disturbing this safety now and this peace is going to be unfamiliar and it will be a threat. While when you're dysregulated, things that are actually good are deemed as a threat to you because it's simply unfamiliar. So if there's anything you guys are taking away from this video, it is regulate your nervous system. Number 2, similar to regulating your nervous system, your attachment style is going to dictate everything in your life. It will determine how you show up in relationships and how you show up in your friendships, and whether you can even give or receive love. So I've made a whole attachment style video here. I really recommend you to go and watch it, because if you can understand attachment styles, it will absolutely change how you show up in your relationships and how you deal with other people. For example, if you know that your friend is anxious, one of her behaviors might be she's excessively messaging you. If you don't reply on time, she thinks you hate her, maybe she crashes out. And if you don't know what attachment styles are, you might just perceive her as being annoying, especially if you're an avoidant. While if you can understand why she's like this, you know what you need to give her, which is just security and replying a bit more promptly, or just having better communication. By the way, guys, if you are interested in therapy, I really recommend my sponsor today, BetterHelp. BetterHelp is who I used for therapy for most of my journey. And I went through various different therapists on there actually, because at different points in my life, I needed something different. Like maybe I needed a spiritual therapist at the time, or I needed a somatic therapist. And there was always someone I could find on there who helped me. So BetterHelp is actually the largest online therapy service provider. And it's so easy to get started, which is what made it so appealing to me, because especially in my lowest points, I did not want to drive to a clinic and meet a therapist that I knew nothing about, and then I have to get another doctor's referral if I don't like them, and it's so expensive. Like, I want to stay at home and talk to my therapist. So BetterHelp makes it easy. All you need to do is fill out a questionnaire, and usually within a couple of days they will pair you with a therapist that they think is right for you. I always say therapy is like dating. It's so unlikely the first time you will get the right match for you, which means you might need to try a couple of times. And what I love about BetterHelp is that I can pick a new therapist for free of charge and change, while I can't do that with in-person therapy, and they make it very complicated and time-consuming. So join over 6 million people who are using BetterHelp today, because BetterHelp is the platform that you can trust. Go to my link right here to get 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp. However, this will lead into my third point. You are not responsible to regulate somebody else, which means in this example, even though your anxious friend is crashing out because you're not replying on time, that's actually on her to regulate it herself and to be like, okay, I know that maybe Simone is busy and she will reply to me later. I don't need to go crash out on her and text her a million times, are you mad with me, okay? That is on her. However, you also have responsibility that if someone confides in you, their triggers and what makes them upset, you don't exasperate that. Which means you can do your part, a little small part, and just be like, hey, I'm really busy this week. I will reply to you later. You let them know. Well, if you go ghost, and guys do this, especially in toxic relationships, they do this, and they know they do it. They go ghost. You're now exasperating how they're feeling. So while you are not responsible for regulating somebody else's nervous system, you are responsible for doing your part in not dysregulating them. You have to take some responsibility. Next, your brain is there to keep you safe, not happy, which means our brain lies to us. Things that seem like a threat might actually be good for us. And if it's seen as a threat, it's going to lead to procrastination. That's another point. Procrastination is a form of protection. Maybe you are procrastinating applying for jobs. Why? Because you are afraid of rejection. You'd rather live in this fantasy of, I'm manifesting this job, but it all comes down to the fact that you're afraid of failure and that you're afraid of the truth. And the truth is that maybe you won't get that job. Now, we go a step further. We can't believe our brain, because our brain is simply responding to your nervous system and also what you are focusing on. So we have something called the reticular activating system, which means the more we focus on something, the more we repeat it. In this example, let's use a crush, limerence, whatever. The more you think about your crush, the more you listen to songs and think about them, the more you go to places they go to, you're simply strengthening those neural pathways in your brain. So how can you expect to get over somebody if you're strengthening all these pathways every single day? And then your brain will start to say, wow, I must be really obsessed with them. I must really love them. I must really like them. No, you're strengthening those neural pathways, which is giving you these limerence feelings. So that's how our brain is lying to us. You're lying to yourself simply because you're strengthening those pathways. And I talked about this in my last video in my second channel. This is why if you're going through a breakup, guys, you cannot be reinforcing these neural pathways. I said, do not tie your glow up to getting revenge on them, because now every time you go to the gym, every time you try to glow up, you're going to be like, I'm trying to glow up and get a bigger ass so that Marco regrets and comes back to me. So every time you're lifting, you're like, yeah, fuck Marco, fuck Marco. So everything is now tied to him instead of you. You must tie all of your goals to yourself, especially in a breakup. You need to make those new neural pathways and get addicted to the future version of you versus the past, and stop anchoring yourself and everything you're doing to them. Stop listening to boss up music, anchoring it to him. Never met a bitch like me in your life. You never had a bitch like me in your life. Yeah, hate him. Now every time you listen to this song, you're thinking about him. Stop asking ChatGPT about them. Stop replaying the conversation. Stop trying to look for a new angle to see things, because every day you do this, you reinforce that pattern. And it's going to be really hard to stop. Like cold turkey, stop checking their following, stop reading conversations. It's hard. But you need to give yourself 5 minutes every time that urge comes up. 5 minutes, don't act on the urge will go away. And every time you delay the urge, eventually it will disappear, guys, because you're actually pruning these neural pathways. Well, every time you do it, you're simply strengthening it even more. Boundaries are so important to have. Boundaries, especially with yourself. A boundary with yourself can look like, I know that my phone stresses me out and that I'm a workaholic, so I decide to turn my phone off at 7 p.m. But you don't do it. You check your phone at 7 p.m. I'm gonna check my emails, I'm gonna reply to my WhatsApp message, I'm gonna call someone from my work. You're breaking a boundary with yourself. And every time you break a boundary with yourself, you're actually disrespecting yourself, and you trust yourself just a little bit less, because don't forget, you're the only one who is taking care of you. So if you can't even take care of yourself and respect your own boundaries, you're literally like violating yourself. You're violating your own boundaries. And that means you're even more likely to be a people pleaser, because if you're violating your own boundaries, everyone else can violate your boundaries. And boundaries are especially important to have in healthy relationships. And it's never about controlling the other person, it is all about you. For example, you might say, I don't kiss in the first 1 month of dating. It's not about them, it's about you. I need 24 hours notice for plans. It makes me feel respected. I don't discuss my dating life with my friends or my family. I leave when they've done XYZ behavior. It's all about you, it's not about them. Another point, you should never feel guilty for having boundaries, because your boundaries keep you safe. And if you assert a boundary and somebody oversteps it, or they get upset about your boundary, they are showing you exactly who they are. And it is not your job to convince them that your boundary is healthy, or to tell them and explain why you have this boundary. They should just accept that boundary. If someone wants to push your boundaries, guys, this is just an indicator of how they're going to be later on. Unfortunately, guys are especially like this. They will see how they can step over your boundaries in small ways, and eventually that step gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you disrespect yourself a little more every time you allow it. Next, resting is not something you earn. It is something you should naturally be doing, like breathing, eating, and sleeping. I mean, sleeping is rest, but I used to be such a workaholic, and I'd be like, no, I can't be sad right now because I need to work. I can't rest because I need to work, or I have to do this obligation or whatever. Resting is so important, especially for your nervous system. If I want to sleep 10 hours now, I will sleep 10 hours. If I want to take a midday nap, I'm going to do it, because I know it will actually improve my work and make me even healthier. And also, by allowing yourself to rest, you're taking care of yourself, and you're literally indirectly telling yourself that you will take care of you, that you love yourself. Your nervous system needs time to regulate and to calm down. So if you think I'm just going to keep on pushing and pushing and pushing, you're doing more harm than good. Your work is actually not going to be as productive and efficient and optimal if you aren't getting quality rest. Emotions are not negative or positive, and I say that with hesitation because there is like an emotional scale and it is associated with a frequency. But what I mean is, our emotions are actually telling us something. So if you are feeling anger, It might be telling you a boundary was crossed. This is why I feel anger. How can I now alchemize this emotion into something else? You feel sad because something has mattered to you. You might be sad that you can't get over your situation. Now you feel stupid. Oh, he was just a situation who played me. Like, I shouldn't feel sad about this. Your sadness is telling you that they mattered to you. Why is that a bad thing? You should not feel stupid for it. You should never feel stupid for your emotions. You are a human. And if you suppress these emotions, it's going to come out as illness later on, because all of our emotions are stored in our fascia, in our body. It comes out as disease, cancers. You have to allow yourself to feel these emotions, to grieve, to feel anger, and also get into a habit of doing regular body scans and meditations where you can actually analyze, where is the emotion in my body? Maybe I'm feeling it in my heart here today, and I'm feeling sad in my heart, or I'm feeling sad because of XYZ thing. And it's important to actually name the emotion out loud. I feel sad. The sadness is stored in my heart. Why is it here? I feel sad because I can't get over like XYZ thing. Example. When we call it out, we name the emotion, we also take power and control over it. Next, you feel the way you feel because your values are not aligned with your actions and what you are doing in your life. For example, you are someone who values freedom and creativity, but you're in a hedge fund job, you're overworked, you're tired, so you feel miserable. Every time we're doing actions that are not aligned with our values, we are simply telling our nervous system, we are betraying ourselves. It's so important that you're able to identify what your core values are in life and live according to it. For example, one of my therapists when I was 23, she made me realize I had no idea what my values were. I would say that my values were like health, for example, yet I was not taking care of my health at 23. I knew exactly what I had to do to take care of it, but the way I was behaving was not congruent with those values. And it created such a dissonance, and it made me feel so bad. Now that I'm 26, I run a strict program. I'm in bed at 10 p.m. I'm eating according to Chinese traditional medicine. I'm at the gym nearly every single day. I live according to my values and I feel so good. And honestly, I think a little bit of this comes with just getting older. Like each year, you know more and more of who you are. Your identity becomes stabilized. As a woman, your prefrontal cortex develops at the age of 25. And I can say for myself, like genuinely the moment I turned 25, I feel like something just changed in my brain. Two feelings can exist at once, and they can also collide. For example, you might hate your family for what they have done to you, but at the same time, you love them and you want to take care of them. You can love someone and need distance from them, but if you have this thinking all or nothing, then you need to suppress all the good feelings and all the positive emotions. So if you have to think, oh no, my parents were evil, they were terrible, then you can't even see all the good things that came out of it. But you have to allow both emotions. You can say like, I love my father, but he did cause me damage, but I still love him, and that's okay. This is more of a trick I've learned, but sometimes you need to act like a parent. Step outside of your body and be like, if I was my mother right now, what would I tell myself? If you're lying in bed and you've been in bed for 14 hours and you know it would be good for you to get some sunlight and go exercise, be your mother. Be like, darling, get out of bed right now. When you get out of bed, you're like, I am so proud of you. You're doing amazing. I love you. This is what I do to myself. I talk to myself sometimes like I'm a child and I'm parenting myself. And it helps me get things done. If I don't want to cook, I'll imagine that I'm my mom and I'm like, okay, I have to take care of myself right now. I have to love myself. And when I do the action, I'll be like, I love you. I'm so happy and grateful for you and I love you. I love that you're taking care of yourself. You need to pour love into yourself. Something else I want to leave you with, girls. If you feel like you can't give yourself love and you're always looking for your next relationship and you find you might be with people and you don't even love them, yet you're pouring all this love into them, it's because, number one, you're a woman, you have a lot of love in you, that this love needs to go somewhere. And if you can't pour it into you, you're going to find anyone else that you can pour it into, whether or not they're deserving of it. So start to pour this own love into you. Start to buy yourself flowers. Start to pour this love into your friends. Start to pour it into projects. And honestly, when you start to pour this into your own life, in the smallest ways. Like it can be as simple as like you cleaning your house. You'll find that your urge for romantic relationships will actually decrease, and you will end up having healthier relationships because you're not actually trying to overgive now. If you're trying to overgive, someone might not have the vessel for it. And then it's creating an imbalance because you're overgiving and they're undergiving because you're giving so much. The love needs to go somewhere, so choose to pour it into you. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I feel like there's so many nuggets right now. Such a disappointment that there's so many nuggets in my videos and YouTube is shadow banning me like, hello. So leave a comment and engage with the video. I will see you next time guys. Ich liebe dich. Tschüss.